To the world, Lynda Carter will always be Wonder Woman, the fierce, fearless, and elegant warrior whose golden cuffs deflected bullets and whose presence inspired generations of young girls to believe they could be strong, brave, and beautiful, all at once. But behind the iconic costume, the dazzling smile, and the television legacy that made her a household name in the 1970s, was a woman whose real-life story was far more complex, emotional, and quietly tragic than the public ever truly saw. Because Lynda's journey was never one of uninterrupted glamour, it was one of painful personal battles, emotional trials, and a deep search for meaning beyond the limelight. Starting from her early years in Phoenix, Arizona, where she grew up with dreams that were far bigger than her small-town surroundings, a young girl who loved music and dreamed of being a singer, long before she became a beauty queen or screen siren. And though she was stunning even in her youth, it wasn't just her looks that stood out, it was her ambition, her sense of purpose, and her deep desire to do something extraordinary with her life, which led her to music in the beginning, performing in local bands and working in coffee houses, until her undeniable beauty brought her into the pageant circuit, where she would win Miss World USA in 1972 and become the national face that caught the attention of casting directors, launching her into Hollywood almost overnight. And while it seemed like a dream come true getting the role of Wonder Woman, in 1975 it was also the beginning of a long struggle with fame, identity, and the crushing weight of public expectations. Because from the moment she appeared on screen in that red, blue, and gold costume, Lynda Carter wasn't just an actress anymore. She was a symbol, a fantasy, a living embodiment of perfection, and she was expected to always look immaculate, act graciously, stay thin, and never complain, all while working exhausting hours, often in physically demanding scenes that left her bruised, worn out, and emotionally drained. And though she remained gracious and graceful on camera, behind the scenes she was unraveling, overwhelmed by the pressure to maintain an impossible standard, to smile when she was sad, to perform when she was exhausted, to keep going when all she wanted was to breathe. And at the height of her fame, she married Hollywood agent Ron Samuels, a decision that from the outside looked like a match made in heaven, but privately became one of her most painful chapters, as the marriage became emotionally controlling, with Lynda feeling more like a product than a partner, manipulated rather than loved. Her confidence quietly chipped away by a relationship that prioritized image over intimacy. And though she tried to make it work, her soul grew heavier with each passing year, until she finally found the courage to leave. But by then, she had also developed a dependence on alcohol as a way to numb the emotional pain, a habit that began silently and slowly consumed her sense of self-worth. And for years, she battled addiction in the shadows while the world still saw Wonder Woman, smiling brightly on red carpets and magazine covers, unaware of the woman behind the mask who was quietly crumbling. And it wasn't until she met Robert Altman in Washington, D.C. attorney far removed from the superficial world of showbiz, that she finally experienced the kind of love she'd always longed for, a love built on mutual respect, kindness, and healing. And together they built a life away from Hollywood's glare, raising 2 children and finding joy in the ordinary moments of family dinners, holidays, and long conversations on quiet porches. But even then, Lynda's battle with alcoholism hadn't ended, and it was Robert who gently, lovingly encouraged her to get help, standing by her as she entered treatment, and bravely admitted to the world that she was an alcoholic, that she was not Wonder Woman, that she was human. And in doing so, she became a new kind of hero, not one who fought villains on television, but one who stared down her own demons and chose recovery, one painful day at a time. And through that honesty, she inspired thousands, using her platform to speak out about addiction, self-worth, and the need for compassion, especially for women who often suffer in silence. And for a time, her life felt whole again. She was sober, married to a man who cherished her, raising her kids, performing music in small, soulful venues, and finding peace in being out of the spotlight. But tragedy returned in 2021 when Robert Altman died after nearly 4 decades of marriage. And with his death, Lynda's world fell apart again, not in the public eye this time, but in the quiet, personal way that grief shatters a person from the inside out. And though she posted touching tributes and appeared composed in interviews, she later admitted that losing Robert was like losing her anchor, her home, her partner, and everything. And she struggled daily to even get out of bed, to face mornings without his voice, to walk through their house filled with memories and not fall to the floor sobbing. Because while she had faced heartbreak before, this one felt like it stripped her bare, left her a widow not just in legal terms, but in soul. And yet, even in her sorrow, Lynda did what she had always done. She found purpose in her pain, channeling her grief into music once more, writing and releasing Human and Divine, a song that was both a love letter to Robert and a heartbreaking elegy for a life that would never be the same. And in singing those words, she offered the world a glimpse into her private mourning, her tender vulnerability, and once again, she connected not through perfection but through pain. Because what made Lynda Carter remarkable wasn't just the way she wore a cape, it was the way she took that cape off and revealed the human beneath it. Raw and real and hurting, and still choosing to love, still choosing to keep going. And in the years since Robert's death, she has continued to advocate for grief awareness, mental health support, and aging with dignity, speaking especially to women who feel discarded by a culture obsessed with youth, reminding them that beauty isn't in wrinkle-free skin or camera flashes, but in resilience, in kindness, in surviving what was meant to break you, and still showing up with your heart open. And even now, in her 70s, Lynda remains a force not because she's flawless, but because she's honest. And she often says that her greatest role wasn't Wonder Woman, but being a mother, a wife, a survivor, a woman who learned to forgive herself, to heal, to love deeply, and to lose deeply. And though the world will always remember her in that famous costume, what matters most is the woman who wore it, Lynda Carter, the icon who lived through the highest highs and the lowest lows, and emerged not untouched, but unbroken, with a legacy far beyond television, one of courage, compassion, and the kind of strength that doesn't shout but endures quietly, lovingly, and unapologetically.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.